Hare Krishna. Good morning, everyone. So today we will be discussing from Srimad Bhagavatam, third canto, chapter number 23, verse number 8, with the invocation prayers. Om Jnanatimrandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Om Vishnupataya Krishnaprastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gauravakta Vrinda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Let me share my screen. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, third canto, chapter number 23, verse number 8. Anye punar bhagavato bhruva udvijrambha vibram siddhartha rachanaha kim urukramasya siddhasi bungsva vibhavan nija dharma dohan दिव्यानरे दुरादिगम दिगानृप विक्रयाभिः अन्ये पुनर्भगवतो ब्रुव उद्विजृम्भ विब्रह्म सितार्थरचनाः किमुरुक्रमस्य सिद्धासि पुंस्व विभवान् निजधर्मदोहान् दिव्यानरे दुरादिगान् नृप विक्रयाभिः अन्ये पुनर्भगवतो ब्रुव उद्विजृम्भ विब्रह्म सितार्थ रचना किं मुरुक्रमस्य सिद्धासि बुंस्व विभवान् निज धर्म दोहान् दिव्यानरे दुरादिगान् नृप विक्रयाभिः. Word to word meanings. Anye, others. Punaha, again. Bhagavataha, of the Lord. Bhuvaha, of the eyebrows. Udvijrambaha, by the movement. Vibram Sita, annihilated. Artha Rachanaha, material achievements. Kim, what use? Urukramasya, of Lord Vishnu, far stepping. Siddha, successful. Asi, you are. Bungswa, enjoy. Vibhavan, the gifts. Nija Dharma, by your own principles of devotion. Dohan, gained. Divyan, transcendental. Narehi, by persons. Duradigan, difficult to obtain. Nripa Vikrayabihi, proud of aristocracy. Translation. Kardama Muni continued, what is the use of enjoyments other than the Lord's grace? All material achievements are subject to be annihilated simply by a movement of the eyebrows of Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By your principles of devotion to your husband, you have achieved and can enjoy transcendental gifts very rarely obtained by persons proud of aristocracy and material possessions. Kardama Muni, I'm going to read this again, translation. Kardama Muni continued, what is the use of enjoyments other than the Lord's grace. All material achievements are subject to be annihilated simply by a movement of the eyebrows of Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By your principles of devotion to your husband, you have achieved and can enjoy transcendental gifts very rarely obtained by persons proud of aristocracy and material possessions. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Lord Chaitanya recommended that the greatest achievement of human life is to achieve the grace of Lord, love of God. He said, Prema Pumarto Mahan, to achieve love of God is the highest perfection of life. The same perfection is recommended by Kardama Muni to his wife. His wife belonged to a very aristocratic royal family. Generally, those who are very materialistic or who possess material wealth and prosperity are unable to appreciate the value of transcendental love of God. Although Devahuti was a princess coming from a very great royal family, fortunately, she was under the supervision of her great husband, Kardama Muni, who offered her the best gift which can be bestowed in human life, the grace of the Lord or love of God. This grace of the Lord was achieved by Devahuti by the goodwill and satisfaction of her husband. She served her husband, who was a great devotee and saintly person, with great sincerity, love, affection, and service, and Kardama Muni was satisfied. He willingly gave love of God and he recommended that she accept it and enjoy it because she had already achieved it. Love of God is not an ordinary commodity. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was worshipped by Rupa Goswami because he distributed love of God, Krishna Prema to everyone. Rupa Goswami praised him as Mahabadanyaya, a great munificent personality because he was freely distributing to everyone love of God, which is achieved by wise men only after many, many births. Krishna Prema, Krishna consciousness, is the highest gift which can be bestowed on anyone whom we presume to love. One word used in the verse Nija Dharma Dohan is very significant. Devahuti, as the wife of Kadama Muni, achieved an invaluable gift from her husband because she was very faithful to him. For a woman, the first principle of religion is to be faithful to her husband. If fortunately the husband is a great personality, then the combination is perfect and the lives of both the wife and the husband are at once fulfilled. So, this is um, again a very nice section of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Um, So, just to give us a little bit of orientation of where we are. So we have now Maitreya who's speaking to Vidura and he's describing about creation and, um, Karma Muni has been commanded by Lord Brahma to beget children. And so he commences on this penance at the banks of River Saraswati for 10,000 years. And, you know, the Supreme Lord being pleased by uh, Kadama Muni's austerities and penance, he appears in front of Kadama Muni, and the Srimad Bhagavatam gives a beautiful description of the Supreme Lord, the four-handed form of the Supreme Lord, the curly locks of hair that is falling on his face, and then the golden Kaustupa jewel on the Supreme Lord. And then um, essentially Kadama Muni, although he desired, um, a wife, the Supreme Lord personally appeared and he selected a wife for Kadama Muni. And the wife that the Supreme Lord selected for Kadama Muni was the emperor's daughter, was not an ordinary person, right? Was an emperor's daughter, and this is Swayambhu Manu, Swayambhu Manu's daughter. And um, Kardama Muni, so when uh, the Supreme Lord appeared to Kardama Muni, he indicated that Swayambhu Manu would appear. And as he had ordained, Swayambhu Manu, along with his wife Shatarupa, showed up at And Kardama Muni at that point in time was again given his austerities and penance was initiated physically. And the description that is given is he appeared like a jewel covered with dirt. It's a very beautiful analogy. And although he was initiated, he had locked, his hair was locked uh, in knots. It is said that his body was still shining. His body was still shining because of the austerities that he had practiced, not just for the sake of the austerities, but he had conducted the austerities in deference to or with regard to fulfilling the desires of Lord Brahma. And when he undertook austerities, his focus of his meditation was no one other than the Supreme Lord. And just by the association of the Supreme Lord, um, the body of Kadava Muni was shining. And just to understand the position of Kardama Muni, um, the Supreme Lord was so pleased um, by Kardama Muni that out of compassion in his heart, he actually had tears in his eyes that, yeah, here's my devotee who has dedicated himself to remembering me and calling out to me. That actually a tear from his eye fell into the lake, which is called as Bindu Sarovar. So that is the story. Um, so, Srila Prabhupada talks about, yes, man proposes, but God disposes. We have the right to, have a desire and work on that desire, but the fulfillment department is owned by the Supreme Lord. So that's the let's say basic principle of karma yoga. But again, what Srila Prabhupada has taught us is also to be able to dedicate all of that work to the pleasure of the Supreme Lord. Um, Now, on the other side, we have Swayambhu Manu. Now, his mind is a little bit troubled and agitated because he has a daughter of marriageable age, and out of affection of his daughter, he is keen to see his daughter settled. And he heard about Kadama Muni from Narada Muni. So he heard about the description. Narada Muni describes Kadama Muni as this person of noble character, great virtues, very youthful appearance, very beautiful appearance. And so, just by the description by Narada Muni, we have uh, uh, Devahuti, sorry, I was blocking out on the name. We have Devahuti, who is meditating on the words uh, of Narada Muni, and internally in her heart, she has developed an attraction for Kardama Muni just based on hearing from a bona fide um, spiritual teacher. And then you know Swayambhu Manu, who's again is anxious to get his daughter married uh, to Kardama Muni, and again he has heard so many nice things about Kardama Muni. Is also requesting Kardama Muni that, and also telling him that you know to deny an offering that has come on its own accord is not considered a good deed, even for somebody who is free of all attachment. And so, Um, Kadamba Muni had, although he was, uh, undergoing these austerities and penances, he had not actually taken the vow of lifelong celibacy. So in this way, you know, um, Swaima Manu is propitiating and offering his and proposing to Kardama Muni. Um, and then he could see in his wife's eyes as well as daughter's eyes, just looking at them, he could see that yes, they also agree of this decision, and wasn't his own whimsical decision to have his daughter married with Kardama Muni. A, he took guidance from Narada Muni, and then B, he was able to understand from his wife, Satarupa, and Devahuti, his daughter Devahuti, that they also are agreeable to this proposal. And so, that proposal moves forward. And of course, as a loving father, he's still quite attached to his daughter, and he's unable to bear the separation from his daughter. And uh, you know again, these are all great emotions, human emotions that are portrayed in Srimad Bhagavatam. Even though one may be a great devotee or a great emperor with mm, a monumental task of setting rules and governing the entirety of humankind, still the human qualities of Manu are being described, where he actually cries, "Oh, my dear daughter, my dear daughter." So, now you have Manu and Swayambhu Manu and Shatarupa, who have then since departed after the marriage of Devahuti to Kadama Muni. And here is Devahuti in the hermitage of Kadama Muni. And she's, initially she's unhappy because, her parents have departed. But without any hesitation or regrets, she begins to serve her husband. So she was attached to her parents until her marriage, and then she started to, as soon after the marriage, she started to engage in her religious duties or dharma of service to her husband, and you know, d- uh, qualified, or let's say mature um, devotees don't give too much of weight or expression to their own preferences and taste, and rather dedicate themselves to what is appropriate from a dharmic perspective. And service that is done, with respect and love for a long time automatically gives beneficial results. And so Devahuti is serving Kadavamuni, uh, without any underlying desires, and with purity in her heart. And again, Srila Prabhupada has taught us about, purity is the force, um, books are the basis, and then utility is the principle, and then preaching is the essence. So that is what Srila Prabhupada has taught us. It starts with purity. And so, with purity in her heart, she is very obediently serving a Kadama Muni. And she is serving Kadama Muni without any ego that, she is a daughter of the emperor, Swayambhu Manu. This is also a very important quality. So this actually talks volumes to the quality of Devahuti, the nature of Devahuti, and also, I shared the qualification of Kadama Muni with his character, with his devotion, with his um, uh, steadfastness to follow the instructions that have been passed on to him, which is to expand the progeny, again as part of Brahma's responsibilities. So in this particular verse again, Srila Prabhupada says that um, for somebody who is coming from a royal family, or with a lot of wealth and facilities, it's actually quite challenging to fully to fully appreciate the love of Godhead. But here we have Devahuti, who is supporting her husband, and her husband is fully absorbed in devotional services. So in a way, she is also involved in the service, in devotional services. So again, if um, the everything that the husband, uh, all the pious credits that the husband gathers is available to the wife, and half of the credits of the wife, uh, as well as sinful reactions, are actually made available to the husband. So that is the arrangement. And in that sense, the a qualified husband and a qualified wife can be such a powerful combination. Um, and I'll give one more example that comes to mind about about these qualifications of a husband and a wife. And again, I'm very unqualified to talk about this, but again, uh, because somehow I'm faced with this uh, particular verse. I'm sharing to the best of my capabilities here. The reference I wanted to make was uh, it actually is from Mahabharata, and this comes as part of the Vana Parva. Another great personality that comes to mind is Draupadi, right? Draupadi had five husbands, and so when the five Pandavas, so when the Pandavas were in exile and they were in the forest, they were at this forest called as Kamyakavan, where they met Maitreya Muni. They also met Narada Muni. And it's also at this Kamyakavan that Lord Krishna visited the Pandavas along with his wife Satyabhama. And so while the uh, the guys are having their conversations, and their conversations is not political or, well, the conversations, it is said, that was about discussing religious topics. Um, and here Satyabhama was asking Draupadi, how come all of her five husbands were so satisfied with her? How did they favor her? How did she keep them under control? It's very pragmatic. And again, we see this also. Um, Women conversations tend to be very pragmatic, related to you know, execution of household duties. And sometimes men's conversations can be more philosophical, more conceptual. And it's interesting that that is also being the case here. Again, it's all broad strokes of generalization. That doesn't necessarily have to be the case. So, you know, Satyabhama, out of her humility, is asking um, Draupadi, how is it that she's able to manage these four men? I mean, I'm sure if you were to ask Mataji's women, um, managing one husband is quite a task. And how is it that Draupadi was able to manage five husbands and keep them perfectly happy? So Draupadi answers that, well, actually, I'm not attempting to control them, but I'm just trying to serve them without any duplicity. And um, I think another way to think about it is, although we are talking about husband-wife dynamics, the same is true for, um, in terms of the service attitude between the disciple and spiritual master, and between a devotee and the Lord. in the sense that duplicity, service void of any duplicity, um, gives satisfaction to both oneself as well as the person that we are serving. And she says that now Draupadi is telling Satyabhama that um, although uh, her husbands are, soft-hearted gentlemen, and they're always truthful and they are always acting according to the principles of dharma. I serve them and I honor them very carefully. And she actually makes an interesting comparison that she serves and she honors her husbands carefully, just as if they were angry, poisonous snakes. It's interesting that she actually makes an analogy of their soft-hearted gentlemen of um, of husbands to um, angry poisonous snakes. So, in a sense that she's not taking advantage of their kind nature. Incidentally, she also tells Satyabhama that, how much balance, how much income or expenses the Pandava kings have is also something that she takes care of. She also takes care of their mother, Kunti, helping her with, bathing, preparing meals for Kunti Devi. And then entrusting all of the family duties to Draupadi, the Pandavas are engaged in their duties. Um, that Kshatriya duties, as they are also focused in terms of their worship to the Supreme Lord. So again, that is another dynamic that we see of um, Grihastha life from the Pandavas and Draupadi. Um, and again, to uh, reinstate the position of Kardama Muni, um, he was not a henpecked husband. And actually, there's I'd never heard of the word henpecked before I started reading Srila Prabhupada's books. So you know, after now this is from Srimad Bhagavatam first canto. We have the Kurukshetra war happening, and then after Bhishma Dev passes away, and Kurukshetra war is all done. We have Krishna who's visiting Dwarka, and um, everybody is really joyful. Krishna blows the conch, and this description there says that okay, the sound of the conch that strikes fear um, in the hearts of people who are opposed to religion, is a source of joy for the devotees of the Lord. And so anyway, there's a beautiful description of the whole city rallying to rush to the entrance of Dwarka to welcome Lord Krishna. And the last verse in the 11th chapter that describes basically this arrival of Lord Krishna to Dwarka talks about the queens of Dwarka. The queens of Dwarka felt like Krishna was like a henpecked husband and would follow them wherever they went, and was somebody that they could dominate over. And that is where Srila Prabhupada actually uses the word henpecked husband. Now, of course, in this particular case, Srila Prabhupada says that, uh, again, the wives of Krishna are acting under the internal potency of the Supreme Lord, so that uh, exchange, the true exchange in terms of loving relationship doesn't get tarnished and has a special flavor. So it's a different category, but nevertheless, that's a reference to the henpecked husband. The another one that comes about, henpecked husbands, as I was doing a little bit of research was the story of the Parijata tree. So, Lord Krishna had visited the heavens to gift a earring to Mother Aditi. And he was accompanied with his wife Satyabhama, who incidentally saw the Parijata tree, and she was so impressed and so wanting it that the Supreme Lord brought back the Parijata tree from the heaven. And Indra, the Lord of the heaven, was, uh, you know, Srila Prabhupada uses the word induced by his wife. Uh, and how dare, and the beauty about this was Indra was thinking that Krishna was a henpecked husband. And so he ran behind uh, Krishna to teach him a lesson without understanding the position of Krishna. And in that section, Srila Prabhupada actually writes a comment saying that all persons who are dominated by their wives are generally foolish. So that's the um, henpecked component of what I wanted to talk about. And then conversely, we have another husband-wife dynamic happening between Kashyapa and Diti, where um, you know Kashyapa asks Diti to wait to conceive, and while Diti uh, is inconceivable, or sorry, is inconsolable, and she doesn't want to wait. And so again, we are talking about personalities here of very strong character, Kardama Muni and Devahuti, and they certainly establish a very high bar in terms of the you know um, ideal qualities of a husband and ideal qualities of a wife. And within our own selves, um, we may be at different levels of our maturity, both spiritually, materially, emotionally. And the punchline here is that at the end of the day, these personalities are also taking guidance. Either we take guidance directly from the Supreme Lord, just like Kardama Muni has, if we have that kind of qualification, or like Devahuti was taking guidance from Narada Muni, we take guidance from bona fide spiritual master or sadhu sangha. So again, this section of Karma Muni and Devoti is very educative for grahasthas particularly, and um, it definitely is not to be used as a beating stick. What I mean by beating stick is, we take a lot of these qualities and then we ask a question, my wife doesn't actually do all these things. Or, my husband, look at all these wonderful qualities of a husband. How come my husband is like this? So that is not the intent. The intent is to have more of self-introspection in our specific roles that we have as husbands and wives, to understand what the standards are and to aspire to get to those standards, again, under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master. So with that, I will stop and see if there are any comments or questions.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you so much for kind of giving the complete prelude, or whole story about this pastime. So, right, what happened in the past. That I didn't hear that thing was Draupadi was telling to Satyabhama. Is that what was the story?
Correct.
Oh, okay. So why did she compare with, venomous snakes? Is that how she's serving their husbands?
I mean, in a sense that she she talks about the gentleness, uh, and at the same time, she is being very careful. Uh,
Mm,
and that is how I understood it, is that she is very careful, knowing that yes, there could be a fiery nature to their husbands, and she is striving to amplify the soft-hearted and the positive aspects of her husband.
mm.
This is my understanding. If anybody else has other thoughts, please do feel to share.
And also not maybe being very familiar, right? Maybe if that will be a challenge.
Correct. Familiarity breeds contempt. That's a great point. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mm.
All right. So if there are no other questions, I wanted to thank everybody and wish you all a wonderful rest of your day. Hare Krishna.